Welcome back to Backroom Convos. I'm your host, Lesego M, Daddy Waddy Pod, aka Sheecha Short, and maybe you might get a chance to call me Daddy like Cairo. Listen, we on another amazing week. Good December. How was your weekend? I know today we're releasing 2 episodes. This is the one of 2 episodes that we're releasing today. We're in hopes to get to 100 episodes quicker than expected. So this is one of those 2 episodes that we are dropping today. Early in the morning. How are you? What are we having for breakfast? For those of you who just joined us, new podcasters, welcome. New listeners. What do I say, podcasters? New listeners to the podcast, welcome. Don't forget to follow, like, and comment. Get a notification for each and every time we drop a new episode. I'm your host with the most, Lesego M, Daddy Waddy Pod, aka Sheecha Short. And maybe you might get a chance to call me Daddy like Cairo. The song of the day is Goosebumps. Goosebumps by Travis Scott featuring Kendrick Lamar. The song was released 2016, which currently sits at 2.1 billion in Spotify alone. The song is amazing, and I want to talk a bit about it. I know it's not a part of the content that we have today, but I learned. So this song, Travis Scott was talking about it and how it came about. Kendrick waiting, like in the passageway between the studios, waiting for Travis Scott to get to the studio, and he was just chilling there. Someone was saying, I think one of the guys who was working in the studios was saying, yo, Kendrick was dope, super chill, just waiting for Travis Scott on like the stairs of the studios. They chopped it up. They spoke a bit. And Travis Scott eventually got there to the studio. And Travis Scott, the same reaction Travis Scott had when he was talking about the Jay-Z thing, that Jay-Z is like just freestyling the man, like he freestyled the entire Megan Carter album. The same reaction he had with Jay-Z, it's the same reaction he had when he was talking about Kendrick on Goosebumps. And I was like, I think Travis Scott, in my opinion, this is my opinion, I think he's one of the people who are not for trouble within the industry. It's like, everybody is unique in their own way, and he appreciates music and the artist behind it. He doesn't know, and if you can look at a lot of the artists that he works with Smoke, he works with bigger artists. If you listen to Franchise featuring Young Thug and that other lady, I don't know her name, I'm so sorry. She's not really that famous, but it goes to show he can feature anyone and make that song stand out. Franchise is one of those songs that I think sonically they're very nice. If you enjoyed Goosebumps, if you enjoyed the London, if you enjoyed those 2 songs, I think Franchise you'll actually love as well, because it's sonically, it's in that path, you know what I mean? So yeah, I think the song of the day, I was bumping it in the morning when I was taking a morning jog, and in the shower. I was like, this is quite a good song, you know what I mean? So yeah, how's your morning? How is your Monday morning? I'm doing this for the first time, dropping 2 episodes. I don't know how this will end up, but it's all the best. There's a lot to touch on, man. And over the weekend, man, I saw a lot of stuff that we're going on, like Diddy and that lady who's a comedian. I forgot her name, but I'll make sure to remind you on the second half of today's show, which is like I did tell you, we are releasing 2 episodes today, so I'll tell you the second half of the show on today's episodes. Second half of the 2 episodes of today, which is like the second episode of the day, I'll let you know. I don't know if that makes any sense, I'll let you know. So I wanted to talk about that comedian and the 50 Cent. But 50 has always been, man, he's always been open, and he's always spoken about Diddy not being straight and Diddy denying it. A lot of people have came up over the years. There's been rumors surrounding how Kim Porter died. I think we spoke about that on the previous episode, and people have been going off, and one of the people that I saw that came out, if you can go on TikTok, you search that comedian who spoke about Diddy, it showed up here. You'll see English. So you'll see. So she was basically saying that about Diddy. She didn't talk. She just blew horns. Like the the devil horns on like Diddy's picture, and he was like, this one is satanic, this one. So he did that. I was like, oh, not a lot of people are actually coming out and speaking on Diddy, but 50 has been vocal. 50 has been to the Breakfast Club and actually spoke. But Diddy once wanted to take him out for shopping, and 50 was like, what? You wanna take another nigga shopping, nigga? It's like, no. But 50 and 50 Cent is, I've always said, but 50 Cent has always been the biggest internet troll. And then I think the Power guys, if you've watched the Power, I think Tariq, you might know him as Tariq on Power. They also have a podcast where they discuss some of the highlights of the show, the series. And they speak about a lot of the things that happened, the downs, the lows, the highs, and the marketing strategy that 50 used to be in conversation or in comparison with, I think, the Terrence Howard show, which is Empire. Empire was big at the time, and they were talking about it. How are we going to align with this show? We just started, but how are we going to create an image that is compared or associated with Empire? Because Empire was doing great at the time, and somehow it got them, the 50 strategy got them to where they are. And I'm like, well, that man is a genius. And the same way he did with like the company that he bought, the water company that he bought, made millions from it. I don't know if he sold it, I'm still not sure. I didn't make a lot of research around that. So yeah, I think 50 is just an internet genius, but I don't think he has a reason again to lie about the Diddy situation. He spoke on it from his personal experience. He's not saying hearsays, it's not hearsays. So he's talking on his personal experience. But a lot of people would be surprised to they are quiet. And this leads me to my next subject or conversation of the day. Oguti, someone was telling me of monitoring spirits, and I want us to talk about this familiar spirits and monitoring spirits. So I was listening to someone, he was saying monitoring spirits in the book, in the Bible, and I don't remember the verse. I'm so sorry for that. I'm not good with the Bible. So we are saying, like, they were talking about the story of Samson in Daniel. So Samson's power was behind the hair. The secret that he had with God was behind the hair. Your force, your power is in your hair. You don't shave your hair. Your power is behind it. That's how you are going to conquer everything or everything. I don't know what to be conquered, but he was saying, to conquer anything that you desire, the hair will assist you with that, Samson. You should not share the secret with anyone. So Daniel, obviously being the portal of the monetary spirit, he kept on probing, and eventually Samson told him the secret that he was not supposed to share with anyone. He was not supposed to share with anyone. He shared it with Samson, and he shared it with Daniel. Daniel went on to share that story with the people that wanted Samson's downfall. They wanted him to fall so bad. So they don't want progress. They are saying something interesting, like, unlike God, the devil or the demons don't know, monetary spirits don't know what you think. They can only know what you say or your action. They can read that and make a conclusion upon that and what you say. And he was saying, anything you say, you must watch your mouth. Who you say it to, you must watch your mouth. You must be very careful, and because that's also a downfall of Samson. He wasn't closing his mouth. They tell him, this is a secret. He went out, spoke to the wrong people, and eventually got his haircut. And that was the downfall of Samson, because of Daniel, who was a portal of the monetary spirits. I was like, this is very interesting, man. It's very interesting that, I think it goes to show, why some of the wealthiest people are just silent in private. Not everybody has access to them. I think sometimes it's just to protect yourself from some of these things. And I say, like, the interconnection to the story of Kim Porter, they were saying, the interconnection, these guys who are behind like some of like the Kim Potter spirit. So this was, I think, that lady is a medium. He was talking about it. Kim's spirit was very protected. So the people who are monetary spirits couldn't do anything to it because she was protected. I don't know by whom, she didn't say, but she was protected. So that's why they couldn't mess with the spirit. So in some of the cases, they say the people that are on earth, they use those monetary spirit in the astral world to manipulate certain things, to hear certain conversations, to be a part of your dreams and stuff, on the spiritual level. And they say, if you're looking for spiritual enrichment as well, if you're looking for spiritual enrichment, they might play that part. You always feel weak, you always feel procrastinate basically when it's time for you to meditate, when it's time for you to read the Bible, or feed your soul. When it's time to feed your soul, you always find excuses as to why you shouldn't be doing that. They were saying, that's also monetary spirit. Portal. I don't know, I'm not informed, but I was like, this is very interesting, because I looked it up on TikTok after I saw the video from the medium, and someone was like, oh, the pastor as well. I saw a lot of people who were actually talking about it, and I'm like, this is very interesting. I didn't know that this exists. I've always been one to share everything, I do everything, and I'm like, oh, this really changed my perspective, because now I respect and see, maybe the reason some of these things that are not going well in your life, I'm sharing this with you, maybe it's because you talk too much. You need to close your mouth, Don't celebrate your plans or your goals or you share them with anybody, because there's just enemies of progress out there, which are the monitoring spirit. So you must be very careful. It can be family, it can be friends, it can be anybody, so you must be very careful as to who you tell. I think the best thing to do out of this is really not to tell anyone, because you don't know. You don't know who's genuine, who's not. You can only feel it. Maybe this person is genuine, but given spirituality and all that, maybe that's the greatest power of deception. But you don't know. Even Samson didn't know Dallania was gonna do that to him, because he trusted her with like the biggest secret of the. He trusted her with the biggest secret he had with God, but it turns out she was a monitoring spirit, and because of that, it cost him a lot of things, even his life as well. You know what I mean? So I'm like, if that can happen, so you must also be careful as to what you share, who you share it with, when you share it with, when you share it. I'm so sorry. So yeah, that's one thing I found interesting. I thought it would really make, or bring substance or value to the podcast, with people who listen to the podcast, to listen to us speak about like this monitoring spirits. I think we need to also like invite someone maybe on the 100 episodes to speak about monitoring spirits and ways. I think in between the lives, I kind of felt with the people you were saying with the mediums are demons, because they can translate your actions, things you've done in the past, and that's how they are able to tell the past and the present, and they can predict your future based on the actions that you've taken in the past, which is like a pattern. So those people are demons. You know what I mean? I'm like, well, maybe that might be true, that might not be true, but who's to say? I don't know, you don't know. Who knows then what a medium is, And they say only God can see the future. I'm like, well, now I don't, because people, again, I know people will always have their agenda. They will always have someone, you always have someone who always has a hidden agenda behind what they say. And I'm like, sometimes I do feel it, and I'm like, pushing an agenda, this one, is pushing a certain agenda. That's why sometimes I feel when they say, I'm like, ooh, like, where do we go to verify this? And really, there's no place to go to verify whether someone, like to verify mediums are devils, or the throat card, people who do those cards and tell you your future and everything that's going on in your life. no one is to say, but no one really knows, So, and it's hard to communicate that. Who do you talk to? When I get someone who is also biased to the fact of, okay, maybe I might be medium, so I'll do everything to substantiate or bring value to what I do, So it's really hard to be in that, or being crossed, like being in the. I think at this point we are at the crossfire where everything is just happening. We just don't know any man who to consult. Who do we get? Because everything is just, and given the internet as well, everything is hitting us by every direction, and we don't know where do we verify this. And given the internet, we don't know where to verify nowadays. We just do, there's no really. But for people who are looking into researching and learning, there's no one place to verify whether this is true or not, So yeah, for those of you who just joined us, the song of the day is Goosebumps by Travis Scott featuring Kendrick Lamar. The song was released under Beds in the Trap singing McKnight, which was released 2016. The song is currently sitting at 2.1 billion on Spotify alone. Major success for this. And I was listening to Mask Off by Future, and there's a remix as well which was released, and it featured Kendrick Lamar. I've learned to Andre 3000, for those of you who watched that interview, he said I did play the flute for some of the influential artists like Metro Booming, and Metro Booming actually came out and said, yeah, Andre 3000 is the one who was playing the flute on Mask Off. And I was like, oh, he's dope then, he's dope. 3 Stacks is dope, and I didn't really think he'd be that great. And I don't know how many years does he have playing that thing as well to be that good, because he was playing the flute on Mask Off. So for those of you who just joined us, I'm your host with the most, Lesego M. Let's meet after the break. Welcome back to Backroomconvos. I'm your host with the most, Lesego M, aka Shoot Your Shot, and maybe you might get a chance to call me Daddy Nakaro. Listen, if you're a fan of pod, stay tuned, because you might like what we're cooking. On today's episode, we are talking about monetary spirit. For those of you who just joined us, go back 15 minutes before now and listen to that segment where we're talking about monetary spirit. And I want us to talk about when we come back now, just that we came back. Oh, by the way, the song of the day is Goosebumps, featuring Travis Scott and Kendrick Lamar. The song was released 2016. It's 4 minutes, 3 seconds long, and currently sits at 2.1 billion on Spotify alone. Successful that song is. And shout out to Tyler. Speaking about Travis Scott, I was thinking about the Chandis he was attending, and he was holding hands with Travis Scott, and the other time she was with Kim K, and she has the things going well, and anywhere she goes, she always makes sure, I don't know if it's a conscious decision, to always represent rather where she comes from. Every interview that I've listened to, she always talks about it. Before I recorded, I was listening to actually giving a review of the Nando's in South Africa and the Nando's in the UK, and it's like, yo, the Nando's in South Africa, the food. So she really enjoys Nando's, and he was like, the Nando's in South Africa is very dope. It's juicy, delicious. The one in the UK, it's very dry. So she always has things, to say about South Africa that's better than what the 3 billion Trevor Ed did. But no offense to him, no offense to him. And that was a joke, I didn't mean it to be that personal, but I'm joking. I'm sure you guys get it. Sure you get it. So yeah, let's talk about it. I was listening. Was I listening? Well, I was on TikTok. I'm on TikTok a lot, ne? I was on TikTok and I realized the guys, Shagalembe, that one guy who's in Shagalembe, they were announcing with some of the guys Adulting Season 2 is coming out. I don't know if it's out, but I just saw the ad now saying Adulting Season 2 is coming out. And I've never watched the show, but I've heard people talk about the show. People like McG have been advocates. Saul Penduga has been also an advocate for the show. But this show is very, very dope, So I don't know how true that is. And I think people like Wandi, they come from adulting, if I'm not mistaken. You know, I didn't know for the longest time. I kept on, because I always like, not always, but most of the time after they spoke about that, because the first time I heard it, it was from Meg. And I was like, oh, okay, let me just go and like listen to the show and hear, could see what are these guys saying and does it align with McGee's story. And, like sometimes you're just in need of a good episode or a good series, to get you through the rough days sometimes that you go through. And I was like, oh, then if there's that, maybe I might just rock that once or twice in a week, So adulting is coming out. I'm not sure of the dates. Please go on to TikTok to just get to verify the dates and come back and let us know, Guti, when are the dates of the season 2 premiering. And shout out to Beyonce as well. The Renaissance documentary or film just came out and it premiered, and people, I remember in social media, we spoke about this. I won't touch on it again, but people were saying a lot about the outfit and everything that's happening. But I really like Jay-Z and Beyonce, man. They've achieved a lot. And shout out to Amiri, who was assisting Blue with everything that was happening there. She grew a lot from the first show that she did. And, I've listened to Beyonce talk about it in the film. He was like, oh, I was very nervous. So I'm normally nervous when I go on stage, but to see my baby there next to me when I'm about to go on stage, that was one of those fearful moments that I had. I had a lot of anxiety because I didn't know if she can deliver, but Blue delivered. As much as, she was getting criticized earlier on, but eventually she got to a place where she's comfortable, she can smile, she can, dance freely without having to think about what people will say about her. And she used that as a drive. She used that as a drive to improve, to learn, and shout out to her, man. Shout out to Beyonce. But after all, if your mom is Beyonce, you can do anything you want. You know what I mean? So yeah, adulting is coming out. Blue Ivy spoke about that. I want us to talk about Diana Ross. Shout out to people who know Diana Ross. If you don't know Diana Ross, I'm so sorry. Just go Google Diana Ross or go to TikTok and search Diana Ross. You will find out. You guys, do you remember Tracy? Tracy, who was in My Girlfriends, the show. There was a show back in the day called My Girlfriend. That Tracy Morgan. Yeah, they're not Tracy Morgan. Tracy Morgan is the guy. So Tracy Ross, there's Tracy Ross. So apparently Tracy Ross and Diana Ross, yeah, mother and daughter. And I didn't know. I just found out, I think tomorrow or day before, Saturday, when Eddie Murphy was doing that interview with Tracy Ross. They were saying, when I was at your mother's house, Diana Ross, and then she was kind of insinuating, her mother is Diana Ross. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Why would he keep that? Or was it because she didn't want the association? Or has it been a silent thing? Or I'm the one who didn't know about it. So which is which? You know what I mean? And I'm like, oh, well, maybe I haven't been paying attention to what's been going on. But Tracy is Diana Ross's daughter. It's crazy. And for what he's achieved, and none of the Diana Ross rumors came and surfaced and took away credibility of what she can do. I think she's proven herself over and over. Where you were listening or watching My Girlfriend and you're like, oh, I truly love this character. I truly loved Tracy. She's one of the people who I really enjoyed. And for people who don't know Tracy, if you know Grownish, Drew's husband in Grownish is Tracy. So that's the lady that I'm talking about. She's the daughter of Diana Ross, the Diana Ross. So that's what I'm talking about. I also want to talk about DOMANI and his bigger brother. There's a lot of things that I actually realized which I don't know about, like the entertainment industry. It just came out to DOMANI and his older brother. They're not really Chinese biological children, but because of TI, they married. So technically, there are Chinese children as well. But it was awkward. You remember when Will Smith used to go out with Bojada, the second wife, going trips, going there. DOMANI was saying on an interview in the podcast, he was saying, "But I mean, I'm not comfortable to put my mom in that situation and her seeing another woman with my father, and she was not willing to put it. So us coming out with gifts, just rubbing it in our face, we would say his father can or I can, and I'm like, this is dope in comparison to Tany's children. That other one, what he did, that one, he actually did a show with Marco, Funny Marco. Shout out to Funny Marco. She's doing amazing work, man. Shout out to her. And the boy did a show with Funny Marco, and I'm like, I'm grateful for the fact you to Mama or DOMANI actually gave them the platform and gave them the right wisdom that's gonna carry them ages and ages and ages, and that's how they're able to even make these decisions to say, my mom would have put it first, my mom this, and it's not easy for people to be like my dad over my mom. It's not easy to get that, and if you have that, man, congratulations, but it's not easy to get that. So yeah, I want us to talk about, again, I think I covered the DOMANI and the Big Brother thingy conversation. So I want us to talk about song of the year. Now guys, I just realized now, but there's another song. I think it's Paris. The name of the song is Paris. They're saying Paris is the song of the year, and I think it is a Maskandi, or if I'm not mistaken, I think that is a Maskandi song. Paris is a Maskandi song. Then people were saying, "But yeah, Paris must take it," and I'm like, "Hey, take what?" We don't know that song. Iplani, I think now I agree with people who are saying, "But Iplani must take the song of the year." I agree with those people. You know what I mean? I do agree with those people. I just don't agree with what's coming out. And people were saying, because you better not do us dirty this time. You know what I mean? But I'm like, oh, you might wake up in the morning and find out Umaskandi, the song and the artists are the one who are credited and all those things. And you don't pop anything. You don't pop anything. And now I tell you this for free, guys. I've never voted in my life. I'm not proud of it. I'm still deciding which party I'm going to vote for. You know what I mean? And I'm like, I don't want to take a bad decision because there was pressure behind it. I just want to do and make it, a sincere application submission to be like, naive guys, I'll tell you. And I was saying, Guti, I don't know what I wanted to say there. So I realized, but I had to catch myself. So I realized, but I had to catch myself. I was like, if people vote for that song, Maskandi, to be song of the year, now guys, I'm voting for ANC. I'm telling you, this is no secret. I'm voting for ANC. You can't DJ out of nowhere. You can't. Like, it doesn't get like that with me. I feel like there's just a lot we need to discuss, talk about. I'm so sorry for that. For those of you who just joined us on the line, I'm your host, Lesego M, Daddy Waddy Pod, aka Shishad, and maybe you might get a chance to call me Daddy, like Cairo. How is your December? How is your morning even? Are we having breakfast? Are we having cereal? Are we having papaya mawani? There's nothing wrong with that. You know what I mean? How is everybody? The mornings are hot, the days. Can we also talk about flies and mosquitoes, guys? During the day, it's flies. You work hard to beat off those flies in the day. By the time it was relax, it's night. Night's getting mosquito, left, right, and center. And I'm like, how, guys? How are we going to rest here if everything that's happening is being dictated by these small ants? And how and what do we buy to make sure that these things don't do that anymore? Because there's other ones I saw. Margie, we have to kuza the fly and kuza the mosquito is annoying because it has these loud noise. They have a loud noise. It's very irritating when you're trying to catch some sleep. So it ends up not working for you because of that, I think, in my opinion, rather. You know what I mean? So yeah, do let me know what you think about today's episode, or whether or not we should do those 2 episodes, morning and afternoon. And if you don't think so, do let me know in the comment section. I'm your host, Lesego M, Daddy Pod, aka Shisha Show. That maybe you might get a chance to call me Daddy, like Cairo. I don't know what else. What else? I think I've covered everything for today's episode. Not even for today, for this segment's episode, 2 segments of this episode. I've covered what had to be covered on the first episode. So when we come back later on, we'll get to chop it up more, speak about a lot of things. If you do have time, you know what I mean? I think we do have time, but we'll get to write more of those thingies. Yeah. So yeah, I want us to. I don't know what's going on, and my throat is a problem. So the book of the day. I want us to talk about the book of the day. I read this book, ne, and I was like, "Oh, this book is amazing." You know, this book is amazing. The name of the book is Rich Dad and Poor Dad. You know, it gave me a lot of insight that I was doing and I wasn't doing, and how do I go from A to B. It gave me a lot of insight, and some point I felt like this guy should be my mentor and we can talk about life and, you know. So the author of the book is Robert T. Kiyosaki. It's Robert T. Kiyosaki. The book was released in 1999. A long time ago. It was released a long time ago, and, you know, we need to fix something there, and, you know, they need to fix something. What am I saying? Do they need to fix something there? Robert Kiyosaki was telling us about business. If you follow him on TikTok or Facebook or Instagram, you know, you'll find snips where he's talking about financial independence, wellness through investing in assets, real estate, starting and owning businesses, as well as creating one that's financially intelligent. I think to achieve that, you know, this is for like people who are under personal finance and non-fiction. So this is for you guys, so you can read it out and let me know. So for those of you who haven't received, I suggest you start sending me those proposals, and we'll send the scripture or the building rules or whatever accordingly. You know what I mean? So yeah, the book of the day is Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Greene. It was released 1999. I'm very grateful for the opportunity to spend this time with you, and I hope you enjoy this episode as well. I'm your host, Lesego M, Diddy Report, aka Shoot Your Shot, and maybe you might get a chance to call me Daddy like I am. Let's meet on another exciting episode. Away.